Folks, if you're dedicated to racking up miles on your motorcycle this summer, you're more than likely going to end up riding in a rainstorm at some point. It may be one of those surprise showers that comes out of the blue on an otherwise totally clear day, or you might don the waterproof rain suit and knowingly head out into a storm like the true fearless Giga Chad that you are. So without further ado, today we're going to discuss everything you need to know about riding motorcycles in the rain. It's actually a little more complicated than you think. Let's get into it. For the most part, unless you're rolling around on an ultra clapped out crap bike with exposed wiring and loose connectors, your motorcycle is completely capable of functioning perfectly while being dumped on by rain. Many new riders are very precious about their first bikes that they think that the slightest amount of moisture is going to result in catastrophic failure. But rest assured, your motorcycle manufacturer anticipated this, and everything electrical has the proper coating and anything mechanical is torqued to spec with appropriate gaskets. Nothing beyond a close range blast with a power washer right into your fuse box stands to suffer any real risk of damage from water. The only thing to be considered in regards to making sure your motorcycle is up to the task of wet weather riding is having proper tires and adequate lighting. As we talked many times over, tires are super important for motorcycle performance and safety. That's true of regular motorcycling, but even more when riding in wet conditions. That's why it's super important to routinely check up on the health of your tires and the depth of your treads. Your worn down treads may work decently fine on a dry road, but the minute you're hit with some water, their adequacy may be greatly diminished. And that really isn't a gamble worth taking. Having proper tread depth allows the tire to disperse water effectively from the tire's contact patch with the ground. This is also one of the additional values of a sport touring tire compared to like a dedicated super sport tire. Not only do the compounds provide a little bit longer lifespan, but the tread patterns are also designed for optimal performance in wet weather. That's why if you have a slick, it doesn't grip in the wet. There's nowhere for the water to go and the grip goes down. The overall profile of your tire will also affect its ability to perform adequately in the rain. So if you find yourself doing lots of riding in the rain, wet weather performance may be something to consider when shopping for your next set of rubber. Again, sport touring tires, awesome. They have more silica in the tire, they can perform better, they grip better, it's great. Regardless of what tires you currently have on your bike, ensuring they're in good health and properly inflated will give you a leg up for riding in the rain. An underinflated tire will diminish handling and an overinflated tire will impede traction, reducing the size of the contact patch between the tire and the road. One of the biggest things you can do to dramatically improve your wet weather riding experience is investing in waterproof gear. Luckily, we live in a time where motorcycle gear technology is as advanced as the tech within our bikes. That being said, much of the motorcycle gear you already own, including gloves, jackets, and boots, may already be made with waterproof material. Die-hard leather sport bike jackets will likely not provide protection from the rain, but there are many other styles of jackets that are made with waterproof material meant to keep you dry as well as protected from injury. Gore-Tex is becoming increasingly common in motorcycle gear as it provides waterproofing as well as breathability. This allows it to be worn at all times regardless of the weather conditions. Previously, waterproof materials were impervious to water and air, so you would stay dry until you got so sweaty and clammy underneath that you might as well have gotten rained on instead. Investing in boots, gloves, and jackets that have a waterproofing capabilities can be a good way to prepare for wet weather riding without having to purchase a whole other set of gear. Alternatively, you can invest in dedicated rain jacket and pants that are easily pulled on over top your normal riding gear. That way you will not lose out on the protective nature of your dedicated riding gear, but you'll have an extra waterproof layer if you're doing lots of long distance riding or live in an area prone to precipitation. Keeping lightweight waterproof gear tucked away on your bike can make a big difference. It is, of course, important to modify your riding techniques and make sure that your bike is in sound condition for optimal performance in the rain, but waterproof gear is equally as important as fatigue and discomfort can dramatically hinder your riding ability. Lastly, adding some Rain X to your motorcycle visor and windscreen can make a huge difference in maintaining clear visibility. A little preventative Rain X combined with the rubber squeegee found on most 3-season motorcycle gloves will help ensure you've got clear vision on the road ahead. So you gotta make sure your lighting equipment is in good working order and is also important for riding in rainy conditions. It may not be as imperative as your tires, but is definitely important for visibility so you can see ahead of you and so other vehicles can see you too. Your stripped down, blacked out bobber might be really cool parked outside of the coffee shop on a Sunday afternoon, but it's not gonna be the easiest bike to see in a torrential downpour if you removed all your turn signals and your taillight is burnt out. There are some things you must also do as a rider. The most important thing to remember when riding a motorcycle in the rain is to be smooth and gradual with both the throttle and the brakes. It's obviously important no matter where you're riding your motorcycle, but it's even more important when riding on wet pavement. Your tires are already going to be working overtime to maintain grip and traction on a wet road, so you want to give them them every chance at success by being conservative in your inputs. Too much throttle and you run the risk of spinning the back wheel, which obviously is detrimental while you're in a turn. But too much brake and you risk locking up the rear wheel and sliding. Riding a motorcycle in the rain, while not as difficult as you may initially think, will put your throttle and brake control to the test. Similar to the way that you may be able to get away with riding on old tires on dry pavement, but will be faced with severe reality check should you be foolish enough to end up on wet pavement with those same tires. Riding in the rain can be an eye-opener for some riders, as the motorcycle's sensitivity to choppy throttle and brake inputs are even more exemplified in wet conditions. Lots of new bikes come with a rain ride mode that's going to reduce the sensitivity of your throttle, prevents loss of traction, and it allows you to modulate the sensitivity of your traction control or ABS when applicable. But like any experienced motorcycle will say, rider aids and ride modes are no replacement for rider skill and proper technique, but rain mode can be used as an extra safety precaution to help mitigate potential risks for loss of traction. Have you seen the outrageous prices people are asking for motorcycles these days? Dealerships and private sellers alike, it is outrageous. If only there was an alternative. If only there was a way you could get a free motorcycle, maybe a Suzuki GSX 8R. Now, how would one go about finding themselves in that situation? Well, it's funny you ask. We're giving one away over on YamiNoob.co. We've given away dozens of motorcycles over the years, valued at $500,000. How is this even possible? Through the support of fans just like you. Becoming a member at YamiNoob.co is the best way to support what we do here. Not only will you earn automatic giveaway entries that you can bank up and apply to future giveaways, you'll gain access to our Discord community and exclusive content. Have you ever thought, man, Papa Yam's gotten soft over the years. This channel is just going downhill. Well, by becoming a member, joining the Discord, and signing up for our newsletter, you will gain access to a much unbridled, outrageous, not safe for work, not safe for YouTube YamiNoob version you could ever want. Do you remember 2016 YamiNoob? He's still there. Plus, you could win a practically brand new motorcycle. If you're watching this and you haven't checked out YamiNoob.co yet, I highly implore you to do so. It's one of the coolest parts about running this whole rigmarole, and I'd love for you to see what it's all about. Now let's get back to the show. Rain or shine, we always want to have smooth throttle control on the bike. And similarly, when riding in the rain, just as riding in dry pavement, you want to maintain a loose grip on the controls. You obviously don't want to be super loose, but you don't want to be rigidly and white-knuckling the handlebar. As long as your tires are in good order, even if you don't have waterproof riding gear and you get soaked to the bone, the only thing stopping you from successfully riding in the rain is your mental game. And staying relaxed and loose kind of plays into that. You have to trust the bike knows what it's doing and kind of just let it do its thing beneath you. Be one with the bike, don't try to fight it. It wants to stay upright. When riding in the rain, you might become wet and uncomfortable and just want to get home as quickly as possible, but you have to be patient and accept your predicament, because trying to rush is going to influence you to make unsafe decisions in regard to speed and your ability in the rain. While riding in the rain might be actually a bit easier than a novice may assume, there are still limitations in regards to traction and braking distance. So not only do you need to be cognizant of the severity of your inputs, you should also try to limit your speed, lean angle, and following distance. Higher speeds will require longer braking distance, especially in wet conditions. And aggressive leaning is going to push the limits of grip of a tire is able to maintain on wet pavement. It's also important to remember that the most unsafe time to ride in the rain is in the first 30 minutes or so after precipitation begins, when all the spilled fluids and debris first lift off the pavement before being washed away. So in those initial movements of a storm, it is even more imperative to avoid rash decisions. Once those first moments have passed, riding in the rain is more similar to riding on dry pavement than you might think. And even without rain gear, once you're totally wet, you're just wet. You can't really become more wet than completely soaked. So just allow you to accept the fact that you've gotten soaked, and that's pretty much as bad as it's gonna get. While riding on wet pavement isn't rocket science, there are a few obstacles that you should try to avoid. Try to take lines in the rain that avoid areas of deeper standing water. Motorcycles don't really hydroplane so much as they just kind of crash. Deeper water increases your risk of hydroplaning and losing traction, plus a puddle of standing water is more likely going to be filled with oil residues that's collected from the road. Painted lines on the road are going to be more significantly slick when they're wet. Those painted lines are always pose a minor risk of riding, but it is definitely exemplified while they're wet. You might even notice your rear tire just kind of skids out over the wet paint. So be cautious when crossing over crosswalks or larger areas with road paint. Similarly, tar snakes are extra slick when they're wet, and as are, God forbid, any clippings. You ride through a freshly mowed subdivision just moments after a rainstorm has begun. You're going to be put through the gauntlet trying to navigate your way safely around that many piles of wet clippings. As previously mentioned, visibility is super important when riding in the rain. It's hard enough to see you on a blue-skied sunny day, and it's damn near impossible to see you in a downpour. So again, make sure your lighting is up to snuff and maybe invest in that high-vis rain jacket. We all know how dorky they look rocking the high-vis safety patrol jacket on the Versys 650 in broad daylight, but if there ever was a time in which high-vis is justified, it's riding in the dark and in the rain. Or both. And lastly, in regards to patience and mental focus, know when it's worth to just pull over and wait for the storm to lighten up. There's plenty of times it rains so hard that it's unsafe to even drive a car, let alone ride a motorcycle. Super torrential downpours that are so heavy that they completely block your visibility and cause water to accumulate on the road faster than it can wash away might be worth you just find some cover and just let things pass. In situations like this, you have to use your best judgment. Just like every time you're on a bike, stay patient, stay focused, and keep your ego in check. If there's an all-encompassing theme for riding a motorcycle in the rain, it's that every little thing that you're able to get away with on dry pavement is that much more risky on a wet road, like bad tires, poor throttle control, overconfidence with your speed and braking ability. Riding in the rain is very much an exercise in patience, resiliency, and self-control. Take note of these ideas and you'll be in great shape to tackle your next unforeseen rainy ride. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Are you a rain or shine type of guy or gal, or are you just a fair weather rider? I have to admit, I'm more of a fair weather rider these days. How long into your riding career did it take you to master wet weather riding? Are you a year-round dual sport elder who's yelling at his computer, "You're worried about rain? Try riding to work in the snow, uphill, both ways." Hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on all the motorcycle content we got going on. Head over to yamanoob.co to learn about our exclusive community and the GSX 8R giveaway. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you later. Fact: around 80% of orange cats are male. It explains a lot if you think about it. Goodbye.
Wake up! You're dreaming! You're dreaming! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! None of this is real! None of it's real! None of it's real! Wake up! Keep watching Amy Noob.